Daredevil Born Again, Series 2, Episode 6, and this episode is all about history. It's all about history. It's about the history between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk and how their relationship has become a toxic, parasite between everyone they are nearby. And I'm not just talking about, Foggy died and Anessa died, and, it's not that whole thing, but it's also the eternal conflict. How does their relationship affects other people like Karen? Like, Karen is completely if you start watching series one of the original series, you would not believe that Karen would jump to this level of we need to fucking kill them, we need to kill them, she's on this murder rampage, not rampage, but this bloodlust that she's pointing at this realization that the only way to probably stop it, to stop, Kingpin's reign, is by probably it doesn't end until one kills the other. And everyone else is in the crossfires. And we have Cowan, because Bullseye is in their bunker. They're in Punisher's bunker with Bullseye, handcuffed to a chair. And of course it's Cowan's like, that's the guy who killed our friend. That's the guy who killed Matt's friend. Not just Foggy, but the priest way back in series 3 of the original series. So, there's that question of why is he still alive? Why didn't you just do the job? And it's kind of it kind of reminds me a lot of jumping to the other side. It reminds me a lot of Batman stories where it reminds me of Jason Todd, Under Red Hood, where you have Jason saying look, I get this whole no-kill rule, but the clown has to be the exception, right? Joker has to be the exception, right? He has murdered more people ever. Why is he still breathing? This is kind of the same situation when Karen's basically saying is, why is Bullseye still alive? I get the Catholic thing, I get the whole Catholic thing, and the whole, shall not kill, but, the whole, Kingpin has to be, the exception, right? If you want, you're gonna go to hell. I mean, first, you're dressing as the devil when you're beating up people, you probably break several sins anyway. But, if you're going to hell, I'm sure that God's going to give Kingpin the exception, right? Assuredly he will. Anyway. And it's just, and when you have the fight at the very, very, very end, that history is just bowled in. What makes it probably the best, let's say, conflict, or the best, showdown between, the devil of Hell's Kitchen and Kingpin is in this by the end of this episode. And I'm sure we're gonna have the final round by the end of this season. Because I would not be shocked. Because the rumors of Matt goes to prison, I feel like he does it. I think it's what is Daredevil without Kingpin? I think by the end of this, in 2 weeks, we'll see the death of Kingpin. And I just think it's gonna be a thing. Because that's always a story, right? That's always the story of what happens if the hero who doesn't kill kills, and it's and all that. But the fight at the end, it's yes, it's Matt trying to have his donuts and saying the question when does this stop? What is going to take you to stop? Why don't we just leave New York together? Let's just both leave New York and never come back here. Let's just this is a toxicity for us. Let's just leave. And because imagine if we never met. Imagine if we never met. Foggy would still be alive, and Nessa would still be alive, and Wesley would still be alive, and everyone who died, and everyone who has been in our crossfires would not have experienced all the shit that we have experienced. They have experienced. It's just so and And of course, also you're dealing with a guy, with Kingpin, he's still grieving. He just lost his wife like less than 24 hours, 48 hours ago. So it's a whole. It's full of emotions and rage, and it's like this whole episode is all about history. And yes, there's the fun aspect of it with the character who shows up at the beginning of this episode, which we will talk about. Who's in the thumbnail of this of this video, but it's just so like it's like this is so good. This is so good level of writing. Now, let's talk about her. So one of the big things that we're marking about this season is Jessica Jones comes back. Good old Jessica Jones, of course, played by Crystal Wheeler. She has returned to play the role. The character, of course, had a show, the original series back on Netflix, and of course the Defenders miniseries as well. So it's like, hey, look, out of all of the Defenders, like Daredevil, of course, is the top of the top. But hearing the words Jessica Jones is coming back, that got my excitement, because if you really think about it, the best two characterizations of the Netflix era was Daredevil and Jessica Jones, mainly season 1. And this is how by that time, when the Netflix show was coming out, I never heard of Jessica Jones. I didn't know, like, I thought this is like a Guardians of the Galaxy situation, where even if you had to really know your Marvel comics if you knew about Jessica Jones, about was it Jules, whole things. But here's the thing, after watching season 1, you know what I did? I bought the original Alias comics. His volume, which is only four volumes. I think you can get the omnibus. Here's volume 1, 2, 3, and here's the funny thing about Kilgrave, right? The damn dude doesn't show up till the final volume, like the final 3 issues or something. It's very funny how he's like the big villain of Jessica Jones, and he only shows up at the very end. But so there's a level of excitement. And also I'm a sucker for like crime or war stuff. So Jessica Jones kind of ticks the box. And seeing her in this episode, yes, there's that funness of like, hey, Jessica's back. We're getting Defenders. And also, knowing the paparazzi shots of season 3, we're getting more, not hearing spoilers, but, what we know, we know. It's the aspect of Jessica, when Jessica is in this episode, there is, like, the final sense of, let's have some fun. Let's do a little bit of this 2 Defenders teaming up, before shit hits the fan. And but also we get a little bit of background of what has happened to for Jessica since the end of season 3 of the show, and what here in this episode of Born Again, and she's a mom. My guess, Alias investigation is no longer a thing. She's, my guess, in hiding. Task forces or government people have busted into her house, and she is like, hey, I need to come back to New York to make sure that my daughter's safe and all that. Clearly there's some friction between Jessica and Luke, because apparently Charles, look, I think it's safe to assume, like, Mr. Charles, Matthew Lillard's character, is connected to Elena from Thunderbolts, and from Thunderbolts. So my guess what it was the original Thunderbolts, they wanted maybe Luke. It sounds like Mr. Charles wanted Jessica and Luke to be part of the Thunderbolts, but in reality, Jessica said no, Luke said yes, and so there's friction between those two characters, which could be quite interesting if we see that happening. But that's going to be quite interesting. You have a good action sequence, and of course, like in the Defenders miniseries, like the banter between Matt and Jessica was like chef kiss. It was kind of like the two Biobanker Bendis known characters click well together, and also knowing someone was the like the comic consultant of season of the show. I need to read the Bendis one. I need to read the Bendis one on Daredevil, and then Brubaker. And there's another one. Well, Jasi, and then Brubaker, and then Charles Soule, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, should just get this by all the underbuses. I should just do that. But anyway, but seeing Jessica, it was fun. It was a fun, it's like, hey, when she showed up, and you get the music with the little, like, clear meant to hint her theme back in the day, and but I think I think this episode was all about reintroducing her, and then the meat and potatoes might come back in the next couple episodes or next season. But yeah, I'm fumbling around talking about Jessica because at this point it's like, hey, it's just cool to see her. Yeah, and it feels like Crystal Ware feels like she never left. She never left the wall. It felt like it's 2000, it's 2020 again. Or, it's 2015, whatever it was. And that. But yeah. But by the end of this episode, I immediately said, and if you know the comics, or at least know some comic storylines, you know what you know. But I was like, the Devil Reign has begun. The Devil Reign has begun. And that. But anyway, comment below, let me know your thoughts of this episode.